Welcome to Inside the Indians, your source for insider information on the Tribe. Stay with us as we bring you the latest about the players, managers, and people behind the scenes at Victory Field. Now here's your host, the longtime broadcast voice of the Indians, Howard Kellman.
Hi everybody, I'm Howard Kellman. Welcome to Inside the Indians. On today's show, we'll talk with Indianapolis Indians bench coach Gary Green, a former infielder. We'll be back with Gary after these words. Gary Green, the Indianapolis Indians bench coach, is our guest on Inside the Indians. Gary, let's go back to last week at Victory Field. We had a finish that you just don't see. I mean, it was amazing what happened here. Jared Oliver, the potential winning run at third, and a pitch comes in, the ball's lobbed back to the pitcher from the catcher, and he dashes home and scores the winning run.
Yeah, you talk about that. That's such a heady baseball play on his part. He had seen that the catcher had lobbed a couple balls prior to that, and that the catcher really was not paying a whole lot of attention to him, and the third baseman was off of the bag, and he wasn't close as well. And he put the equation together, and it was a big win for us for sure.
Right. It gives the entire team a big lift when something like that happens.
No question. They had come back late in the last couple innings, so the momentum was certainly with them. So him getting that base hit over the bag at first base and being able to get into scoring position, and then the heads-up play at third base to score from third base to home plate, that's just really such a heady play. And those are the things that we're looking for, being able to put circumstances and situations together to help us always advance 90 feet, and he certainly did that.
Gary, we're more than a third of the way into the season. What are your thoughts on this Indianapolis Indians team?
Well, as you know, Howard, it's a very talented team, but it's a team that still has to learn how to play the game of baseball. They still have to understand, what situations, how to combat situations defensively, throwing the balls to the right base, keeping double plays in order, knocking balls down that are thrown from the catcher to keep in the infield so guys can't advance on stolen bases. So there's a lot of teaching that still has to go on at this level.
So you spend a lot of your time before games working on those things. Tell us what your day is like if we're playing a 7:00 game.
There's a lot of video from the night before that we have to sit down with players and show them video in terms of where they are at or on cutoffs and relays, if they're in the wrong spots, are they far enough out on their depth? Double play stuff. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. At the end of the night, looking at video and stuff like that, and then breaking down the video and then trying to get it to the players the next day to help them to create more awareness for them. And then that's before the workday even starts on the field. So the days are busy.
Eric Davis, the former outfielder who these days works for the Reds, told me a few days ago, he says you have to show them video now. It used to be you can just tell somebody something, but nowadays they want to see it in addition to hearing it.
I would have to agree with Eric. It's a different age today. It's a different game today. Players don't seem to be as much of students as players in the past. So they want to see video. They grow up with video games, and we just have to make the adjustment to them nowadays.
Yes, that's a really good point. And you do a lot of work with the infielders. You were the infield coordinator for a long time. Tell us about the work you do with the infielders.
It's similar to what I did when I was the coordinator, Howard. It's just that I have more of a relationship with these guys because I'm with them every day. I was with these guys last year in Altoona, so I really have a good relationship with all of them, and they know what's expected, and I know what to expect from them. So it really has been joyful the last 2 years being around this group.
What are some of the things, I know you work with each individual specifically, but what are some of the general things you will say to infielders?
I mean, it's just, there's a number of things. I think the biggest thing, Howard, is learning how to show up every pitch, learning how to read swings, the different depths that they have to play at based on the speed of the runner. So there's a lot of awareness things. Scoreboard is big. They have to learn how to play the scoreboard. I mean, there's a number of things that we go over on a daily basis with them. Just game awareness.
How important are your feet when you field a ground ball?
Well, I think they're the most important thing because that's your foundation. And you start from the foundation and work up, just like building a home. You don't start from the roof and work down. You start from the bottom and work up. And the feet are everything. They get you in the position to throw the ball, and they create the momentum that it takes to get the ball across the diamond. So they certainly are very, very important.
So what are the things you say regarding positioning and feet to the infielders?
Well, I think, the feet is being in a good setup position, ready to be able to move, and then moving your feet to the ball. The eyes are important because you have to have the eyes and everything work together. So the eyes tell the body what to do. So the eyes are very important as well. You have to be able to see the ball come off the bat and see where the first hop is. It is in the dirt, is in the grass. It's going to determine how you're going to attack the ball.
The term good hands, soft hands, is that something you're born with?
I think that you can work on that and it can get better for sure. And there's a number of ways to do that. You can do short fungo drills with guys. You can throw balls off the wall for guys and have them work on gathering the ball to the center of their body. I think they always want to try and catch the ball out in front, like as if it were at the top of a triangle, so you can see the ball go in the glove and then just gather it to the center of the body.
The positions are so different. Like a shortstop is always involved. A third baseman can go several innings without a ball being hit to him. Do you say different things to a shortstop than you do to a third baseman?
Because there's just different responsibility. Each position has different responsibilities. So there's a lot of similarities in fielding balls, but then there's different responsibilities in terms of the position itself. So, we cover different things for different positions.
We'll have more with Gary Green on Inside the Indians. Gary Green, our guest on Inside the Indians. Gary, let's talk about O'Neill Cruz. He's the top prospect in the organization, one of the top prospects in minor league baseball. Give us your thoughts on him, both offensively and defensively.
Well, I think he certainly made strides from the beginning of the season until today. Obviously, the weather's gotten better. It's gotten warmer. It was a rough April and May in terms of weather for not only him, but for our whole group. Just being able to get out in the field and get the work that's needed to be done on a daily basis. So the weather's been better the last 3 weeks. We're able to get on the field more. He's starting to find his groove, his rhythm and timing, especially defensively. It's starting to come around offensively better for him as well. So we've been encouraged the last couple of weeks as to how he's been performing.
In the last Indians game, I noticed when he fielded a couple of ground balls, he didn't take extra steps. He threw immediately, which I think is a good sign.
Yeah, I think it is, Howard. I think he just gets caught playing too deep. I mean, the strength, as you know, is his arm, but that's also a curse because at times you can rely on the arm too much. You can play too deep at the shortstop position. It creates tougher angles for you. And then if you let the ball come to you, it's a lot longer throw. So those are a lot of the things that we've been preaching to him. He's got to play a little closer to the hitter, be more aggressive with his feet to the ball. So he can make the play a little bit easier. So and he's been working really hard at that. So kudos to him.
He's 6'7". There's never been a shortstop that tall. But after you watch him for a little while, you come away saying he has the ability to be a major league shortstop.
Well, he has all the ingredients: quickness, agility, arm strength, hands. It all works. I mean, everything works. So, I mean, Magic Johnson was 6'8" as a guard. So I don't think people saw that before either. So he's a unique talent, and he continues to evolve as a player.
You know, when you break a player down, you say, can he hit for average, hit for power, run, field, and throw? There aren't too many five-tool players who can do all those things. As great as Mike Trout is, he doesn't have a great arm. So, but O'Neill Cruz is a five-tool player.
Right, he is, and we have to be able to unlock those tools so that he can learn how to be consistent. Because it's great to have those tools, but we have to be able to use those tools on a daily basis, and that's what we're working toward.
Any impressions of some of the other infielders that stay with you? Mason Martin, for instance, the Indians' first baseman. Tell us about him.
You know, Mason's improved for sure from the time he came to the organization a number of years ago. He's made great strides on fielding. His throwing has always been pretty good. He's made very good strides on picking balls out of the dirt for the infielders. He's made strides on his footwork around the base, on receiving throws, and those are all subtle things that he spent a lot of time on working on. So he's still a work in progress, but he has certainly made great strides over the last year and a half.
No matter how good a hitter you are, you're going to have slumps. It happens to everybody, even the best of them. So I think it's so important when a hitter is going through a challenging time, it's on his mind not to take it out in the field with him too.
Well, I totally agree with you, Howard. There's two parts of the game. You know, I mean, there's offense and defense, and certainly base running as well. But when you're not hitting, you know, and you're not driving in runs, you have to take them away defensively, because at the major league level, you know, and as we speak in this interview right now, Mike Trout is like 0 for 30, you know, the best player in the game the last 10 years, and the bat's been taken away from him for a little bit. He still goes out there and plays defense. And the bat gets taken away at the major league level for a while for everybody. And so if you're not producing runs, you got to stop them defensively. It's just that simple.
The one thing, Trout is an outfielder, O'Neill Cruz is shortstop, but Mason Martin at first or your third baseman, if you go out there and what's your last at bat and you're disappointed, you're thinking about it, the ball can just whiz right by you at either first or third base before you react.
That's extremely true. I mean, you know, to me, it's a maturity issue. It's about being able to move on. What's next? Not what's in the rearview mirror. It's always about looking forward, not behind. So those are lessons that we continue to preach to these young players, because a lot of times they get caught up in the rearview mirror and they're not able to move forward.
Yes. Is there a particular key or keys to being a really good infielder when you break it down? What does it all involve?
Oh, man. I mean, eyes are really important. Having quick feet, having good eyes, being able to see the hops. Because without being able, it's just like a hitter, Howard. You know, the eyes are really important. I mean, good hitters see things quicker than most. I think good infielders see hops quicker than most. Brian Hayes is an example. I mean, it's hard to teach what Brian Hayes, you know, brings to the table, because what his eyes see, the body matches up to what his eyes see. So there's so much fluidity there. There's a lot of things to it. It's not just having good hands. It's a combination of a lot of things.
I remember Jeff Branson saying to me, a good infielder has a time clock in his head as far as making his throws and getting them over there in time to first base.
No, I think that's exactly right as well. It's just understanding the speed of the runner, putting that equation together, playing at the depth you need to play at based on the speed of the runner, understanding angles, taking angles to the ball based on how hard balls are hit. But time clock is very important, no doubt about it.
We'll have more with Gary Green. This is Inside the Indians. Gary Green is our guest on Inside the Indians. Gary, let's go back for a moment to 1993 when you played for the Indianapolis Indians. What are your thoughts when you look back to that time?
That was a long time ago, Howard, and my hair was a little more black at that time. And we certainly did not have the kind of facility that we have today.
You know, that's an interesting point, because you've made a point to me over the years about the infield at Victory Field is better than many infields in the major leagues.
No question. I mean, it's a tremendous facility. The players are very fortunate to have a chance to play on this field. You very rarely do you see bad hops. I mean, it's just it really is a really nice place to play and take ground balls for sure.
You're the bench coach for the Indianapolis Indians, working with manager Miguel Perez, and the two of you did the same thing at AA Altoona a year ago. So tell us what's involved in being the bench coach for Miggy.
Well, it starts with making sure that when he puts the lineup out, that we make sure and check it to make sure that the lineup he takes to the home plate, to the umpires meeting before the game matches up on the card that we have in the dugout. We have to make sure we have everybody in the correct spots. All the players on the cards, especially if he has to use guys later in the game, whether it's pitchers or position players, we have to make sure the substitutions are on that card. So once we get all that taken care of, then we talk about the day and what we're going to do during the day with the players. Are there any meetings scheduled for the players? There's video stuff that I got to find players for throughout the course of the day based on the night before. And that's pretty much, it in a nutshell, Howard. I mean, the big thing is making sure that the lineup card is correct. So he takes that stuff to the umpires that when we need to go into the bullpen or bring a substitution into the game, that they're on that card that the umpire has at home plate. Because I've seen a number of times where, the managers forget to, put certain names on there and then you can't use those guys. So that's really a big one. And then after the game's over, we'll recap the game real quick, talk about the next day's schedule for the players, and then we'll try and get out of there by 1 or 2 in the morning.
1 or 2 in the morning. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, for a 7 o'clock game, what time do you generally arrive at the ballpark and start working?
Well, then I'll probably get there about 12:30 or 1 o'clock to just kind of get things straightened out again, look at some more videos. So when those players come in, I'm ready for them. And then we'll try and start our work on the field by 2:15 or 2:30.
Might you say something? Let's say we're in the 8th or 9th inning and a slow runner draws a walk in a close game. Might you suggest, hey, Miggy, what about a pinch runner now? Is that part of your responsibilities?
Yeah, you know what? Like when he's sitting on the bench, there's nights where he'll have Brady Conlon go out and coach third, so we can spend more time talking about those things. But when he's coaching third base, he pretty much is able to do that. He's really aware of who he has on the bench and who can do what to try and help us win. So he's a good baseball man. But when he sits in the dugout with me and he's not coaching third, we'll talk about that stuff. Now, on the other side of the ball, defensively, he's in there obviously with me all the time. And we'll talk about, hey, what do you think about if this guy gets on? What do you want to do here? Would you want to maybe walk this guy? It's a tough left-hander. The next guy's right-handed. So we'll talk about that stuff a lot. We'll talk about, do we want to be in no doubles right here? And do you want Mason Martin holding the runner? Do you want him to go back? So there's a lot of discussion, when he is in the dugout. But when he's at third base coaching, he pretty much has a good handle on who he wants to pitch hit for, who he wants to, do anything offensively for. He does a good job with that.
What about making a pitching change? Will you guys communicate about that?
Him and Dan Meyer do that mainly. They're the ones that set all that stuff up, sometime in the afternoon prior to batting practice or after batting practice. And they go through all those different scenarios, who's available that day, who's not available, who they'd like to have close. And Miggy takes care of that with Dan.
I can't remember the specifics, but there was a game a few weeks ago where we had a couple of right-hand batters coming up late, and Miggy pinch hit for them with left-hand hitters in that one. One of them won the game. So that's something that I would think you guys communicate with too.
I mean, yeah, we do. We talk about it, but he also talks to Munson about it as well, who's our hitting coach, which is good because Munson knows those guys better than I do. He's in the cages and around those hitters much more than I am, as I'm not in there very much because I'm with the infielders. So him and Eric do a good job of communicating about who they might want to use in a certain situation, especially later in the game.
As we approach the second third of the season, anything in particular you'd like to see on a daily basis more?
Consistency. But keep the ball off the ground, make the routine plays, be in the right spots when the ball's not hit to you.
Well, that's well said. I don't mean to quote Shakespeare. I usually quote Yogi Berra and Casey Stengel, but Shakespeare said, "Consistency, thou art a jewel." It means everything.
That's the game. That's what the game demands.
Gary, thank you so much. Great spending time with you as always.
Thanks, Howard. Always good seeing you.
This is Inside the Indians. Former Indianapolis Indian, former infield coordinator, and current Indianapolis Indians bench coach, Gary Green. We'll see you next week on Inside the Indians.